Beyoncé, Mother Teresa, Kendrick Lamar. What do these three people have in common? They're all ISFJ personality types. Nicknamed the Defender, this Myers-Briggs type is known for being protective of those they love and is often considered selfless. And while the Defender has many strengths, their combination of traits makes them prone to low self-esteem. Today on Charisma, we're going to be looking at the 7 reasons why ISFJs have low self-esteem. It should be noted that this video is only intended to share information we analyzed on the topic and may not apply to everyone. If you want to know more about this topic, you should do your own research and talk to a professional. First, let's look at the 4 dimensions that make up the ISFJ. Dimension 1. Introversion. If they spend too much time around others, ISFJs can quickly become drained. In order to recoup this energy, they need frequent time alone to recharge. Dimension 2. Sensing. The sensing dimension means that ISFJs view the world around them in terms of logic and facts. Dimension 3. Feeling. While ISFJs may view the world in terms of logic, they make decisions based on their emotions, giving them the feeling dimension. Dimension 4. Judging. The judging dimension means that ISFJs are seen by others as orderly and organized. So, what makes this type more likely to suffer from low self-esteem? Number 1, they're altruistic. Altruism is typically constructed as a good thing, and it usually is. Merriam-Webster defines it as unselfish regard for or devotion to the welfare of others, painting the picture of an altruistic person as someone who is deeply caring and devoted to the well-being of other people. What's not said in this definition, though, is that those who practice too much altruism might put the needs of others above their own. You probably won't be surprised to learn that ISFJs fall into this trap as they are considered highly altruistic. What's more, ISFJs are easily taken advantage of by others because of their altruism. They may, for instance, find themselves in toxic friendships or relationships with people who know that an ISFJ will help them, even if they treat the ISFJ poorly. And by constantly putting the needs of others above their own, an INSFJ can quickly become known as a pushover who is able to easily be taken advantage of. Over time, this can lead them to develop low levels of self-esteem. Number 2, they're humble. There's nothing more annoying than someone who's egotistical and who constantly brags about what they have. But at the opposite end of the spectrum, excessive humility can also have downsides. ISFJs are among those who possess almost extreme amounts of humility. They downplay their accomplishments to themselves and others and rarely acknowledge their achievements. If an ISFJ aced a test at school, for example, they might say that it was just luck. Or if they were praised for a group project at work, they may say that it was because their coworkers did a great job on it, not them. This humility, though, can have negative effects on an ISFJ's self-esteem. Because they are constantly minimizing their achievements, they end up sending a message to themselves that they're not good enough or that their accomplishments are less valuable than others. In addition, when ISFJs brush off praise from others, they wind up unconsciously communicating that praise makes them uncomfortable. Over time, this can incentivize an ISFJ support system to stop giving them positive feedback because they know that an ISFJ won't respond well to it. And as this positive feedback begins to trickle, ISFJs may experience even lower self-esteem. Number 3, they're introverted. With introversion as their first dimension, ISFJs need frequent time alone to maintain their energy levels. This is because too much time around others, whether at work, social events, or even just at the grocery store, can cause an ISFJ to become drained. And while ISFJs do enjoy social events from time to time, as we saw earlier, they have a tendency to take things too personally, and their social engagements can suffer as a result. Because their introversion can make them feel awkward or overwhelmed when they're around too many people, for instance, this can lead an ISFJ to jump to the incorrect conclusion that there's something wrong with them. In other words, instead of accepting their introversion as being okay, they tend to criticize themselves for not being as outgoing as their peers. Additionally, studies have shown that introverts are naturally prone to having lower levels of self-esteem than extroverts are, though this doesn't apply to everyone. One study published in Enhancing Self-Esteem in the Classroom concluded that this might be because introverts remove themselves from social situations, which leads others to view them as having low self-esteem for doing so. When these people then treat introverts as though they do have low self-esteem, an introvert might begin to believe it. Number 4, they suppress their emotions. ISFJs are very private people and tend to keep their emotions to themselves. whether they're excited about something they recently accomplished or are having a hard time at work. An ISFJ is more likely to bury these feelings than express them to others. And while emotional suppression can be useful in some circumstances, ISFJs tend to take this to an extreme. Most notably, an ISFJ's reluctance to share their feelings with those who can provide support and guidance means that they don't really have a healthy release for their emotions. Ultimately, this leads an ISFJ to develop a self-reinforcing belief that their emotions aren't worthy of being shared. Understandably, such a belief can cause an ISFJ to develop debilitating feelings of low self-esteem. Furthermore, research confirms that keeping emotions to yourself can result in diminished self-confidence. A 2003 study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, for instance, found that so-called emotional suppressors report having lower levels of self-esteem and are less happy with life overall. Based on what we've seen so far, we'd venture to guess that at least some of this study's emotional suppressors were ISFJs. Number 5. They take pride in their work. It's generally considered a positive trait to take pride in one's work. This can lead to enhanced performance, a commitment to growth, and improved self-confidence. However, if you haven't already guessed, it can lead to negative consequences when it's taken too far. ISFJs fall into this trap. This personality type takes great pride in their work, but where they go wrong is in the fact that they often identify personally with their work. This can lead to reduced self-esteem for 2 reasons. The first is because ISFJs identify so much with their work, it often means that that's all they identify with. Because they haven't developed confidence from within and have trained themselves to rely only on their work performance for self-esteem, this can impact their actual self-confidence, especially if they're having a hard time at work. The second reason that their pride in their work can cause an ISFJ to have less self-esteem is because their commitment to work means that they are prone to workaholism. One of the identifying factors of workaholism is devoting too much time to one's work at the expense of their own self-care. This certainly sums up ISFJs who deprioritize themselves for the sake of their work. Number 6. They have a hard time standing up for themselves. ISFJs avoid conflict like it's the plague. That's because as the defender type, they see others as people to be cared for, not to be argued with. So when someone puts an ISFJ into an uncomfortable situation, they make an effort to diffuse the tension in order to avoid confrontation. However, this also means that they have difficulty standing up for themselves if the uncomfortable situation is related to them. If someone criticizes an ISFJ, they tend to sit there and take it. While this allows the ISFJ to achieve the goal of avoiding conflict, it also has the unwanted effect of making them an easy target for blame. If an ISFJ is working with a classmate on a school group project, for instance, and they both make a mistake on part of it, it is easy for the classmate to blame the ISFJ for the mistake, as they know that they'll be unlikely to defend themselves. Number 7. They're sensitive. ISFJs are very sensitive personalities and are particularly susceptible to criticism. This is because, unlike other types, ISFJs lack the ability to brush off criticism or look at it objectively. Instead, if someone critiques an ISFJ, they tend to take it personally, whether the criticism is true or not. At work, for instance, an ISFJ might get the feedback that they need to communicate more with their teammates. A less sensitive Myers-Briggs type might hear this and look at it as an opportunity to become an even better coworker. An ISFJ, on the other hand, may hear this feedback and think that they have some personal defect. They might worry that they are a bad communicator, that their teammates don't like them, or even that they're going to get fired. Over time, an ISFJ's self-esteem can suffer as a result of this inability to be objective with feedback, as they tend to be more affected by criticism than most. What about why ISFPs have weaker immune systems? Watch this video to learn about that.